Well, welcome everyone to our Cheltenham Festival special of the Paddock, where we had hoped to do it in person at Sandown, but sadly the world had other ideas, which means that Rishi and Tom are currently stuck in Dubai, having broadcast Super Saturday there at the weekend. And it means that this is coming to you via Zoom. For those watching, if you are listening, no change. We're all together. But Rishi and Tom, it's a really scary situation. Just give us an update. Do you have any idea when you're coming home? What's the latest out there?
There is no official word as to what's happening. We have been since Saturday in limbo, waiting for news on what's going on. In fact, as things were progressing, we were not entirely aware of the severity of it because obviously we were working. We were aware that there were concerns about safety, etc., and we understood that there were missiles being launched and intercepted in the Gulf. The racing took place. Sheikh Mohammed turned up, watched Rebels Romance win. All a little bit surreal against the backdrop of seeing missiles in the sky and hearing explosions. And subsequently, since Saturday night and the closure of the airspace and the fact that Emirates obviously cancelled flights and other jurisdictions in the area also closing airspace and cancelling flights, we have all, certainly the Racing TV, the RMG crew that worked together on Saturday night, all been waiting for news as to when we can return home. It changes every day, as in the hopes get up and we are told, to keep looking at your phones, register with the relevant authorities and news will come through. But it's just simply a case of waiting. I mean, it's actually, in some sense, the fact that we are together, obviously Tom is alongside me, it's quite reassuring to actually have some company through it, who, friends and colleagues. Otherwise, it'll be, for some people, it'll be quite a hard experience being out here on your own, waiting for news of when you can go back home to your family and loved ones.
And it must be, Tom, an incredibly scary situation. With everything that's going on, looking on from afar as we are, it looks bloody frightening, to be honest with me.
Yeah, I think there have been moments. After racing, there was a moment where we were having some dinner and our phones all pinged with alerts that we needed to shelter. That was quite a frightening moment. And there was another incident yesterday where we were at the hotel and heard some pretty loud bangs outside, which were obviously missiles being intercepted. So it's incredibly strange. It feels like it's been quieter today. Look, I don't want to speak for anyone else. I think safety-wise, you feel comfortable enough, but you just don't know. And there's also the fact that you don't know when you're getting home, which is the really unsettling thing. But I think we're fortunate in the sense that we are being looked after by RMG and the Dubai Racing Club with regards to getting home, and we feel that when the first opportunity comes, then hopefully we won't be too far away. But we certainly didn't expect to still be here, and I think now we take it day by day, and you're sort of hoping that. I think now I feel by the end of the week it would be great if we were home. I appreciate everyone at home themselves is seeing pretty nasty things and are probably quite worried about us, but. Rishi and I have seen far too much of each other, and he's certainly keeping my spirits up by being very silly all the time. So thanks, Rishi.
I can't say the same about Tom, if I'm honest.
It's quite a hard transition from missiles overhead to let's crack on with our Cheltenham preview.
It's nice. It's a nice distraction, genuinely. Let's do it.
Okay, good, because we've got a great show. We're going to go through all the big races. Gordon Elliott's going to join us. He's waiting on the line. So glad you're safe. Stay safe, gentlemen. Get home safe. We can't wait to welcome you back to these shores. But let's find some winners on this week's Paddock in the company of our special guest who's waiting in the wing. Gordon Elliott, special guest on this week's Paddock. Gordon, I know it's a really busy time for you and all the trainers really with runners at Cheltenham, so really appreciate your time. How are the excitement levels ahead of the festival?
Probably getting a bit nervous now, Oli. We've probably one more bit of work to do with most of the horses, so just hoping the next week goes okay.
When's that work going to take place?
We're just working at home probably this year. The ground's obviously fairly heavy at race courses, so we're not really taking them away. Tuesdays will probably work Tuesday, and every day from there on we'll be working. And a few of the horses need a bit of work later on in the week. We'll see.
Well, we've got the star team on the paddock from all parts of the world who will be hanging on your every word, as will our listeners and viewers. So take us through. Let's kick off with day one. The mare in the champion hurdle, brighter days ahead. Lots of people. I mean, I'll get straight to the point. Lots of people will make the point about Cheltenham with her being a concern. What would you say to them?
Yeah, look, it's obviously not ideal. She's been at Cheltenham twice and got beaten. But look, the first year I think we had a probably Jack will say he probably wasn't at his brilliant best. I think himself and Paul were looking at each other, and they got Pepe, that wonderful mare, who went on to win champion hurdle, Golden Ace. So maybe, the Pepe a very good horse the first year. Last year she wasn't right. To be honest, after the first hurdle you could see the writing was on the wall. But we think we've having a good form this year. She's going into the race off just 2 runs. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Well, do you think she's the best horse in the race in terms of talent?
I think probably the Skeleton horse is the only exposed horse, that could have the most improvement in it. We're all kind of trying to sit and wait to see what improvement he has. Obviously, he fell, and then he probably won a no race the last day in Cheltenham. So he's probably the horse that we're all waiting to see what's left underneath the bonnet, what scope is there. Golden Ace has been there. I don't think she gets the credit she deserves. And I suppose the question is whether Lossiemount will turn up or not.
What are the vibes in Ireland about that?
Sorry, Ali.
What are the vibes in Ireland? Are they leaning towards the mares, do you know?
Oh, listen, if you could find out Woody Mullins, you might let me know. Look, to be honest, I kind of worry about my own horses. Listen, I stop kind of doing these Cheltenham previews and all these sort of things because you come home every night with a different opinion. So, look, if whatever happens. I've brighter days ahead in the mares, and I would who in the other in the champion, and would who in the mares. So whatever happens.
Gordon, last year you ran a pacemaker for brighter days ahead in King of Kingsfield. Obviously, there's a potential absence of obvious pace this year, apart from your mare. Would you be quite happy to let her just crack on and carve it out?
I think Nichol's horse might have been ridden handy the last day. Was he the horse?
Yeah, Tutti Quanti. Yeah, I suppose he'll crack on. But is he going to be quick enough to do that if the ground's much better though?
Look, to be honest, if we get a lead down over the first couple, then Jack will ride his own race. Look, I'm not saying we have to make it. We'll just keep it simple and wants to go good gallop. Probably be fair to see it on the softer side, Nick, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
What about the opening race of the festival? How's El Kairos?
He's in very good form, yeah. Jack is delighted with him. He rides him all his work. Very fast horse. Obviously, if he is there going to the last, we'll be all holding our breath, But he's just very, very fast. But at home, he's a very good jumper. I mean, he jumped well in Leopardstown up until what happened to him with the last, and the same in Thurles. I just think where I'm looking for a bit of soft ground for the mayor, I say the drier the ground, the better for this side.
It looks as though it's going to start on the soft side. I saw a report about that. So.
He's very fast. He's very fast horse, so he is. And he does jump well at home. Look, it's a supreme novice, and he's quick, so we're looking forward to it. I could run Ballyfat as well. If the ground is on the softer side, Ballyfat could run it in this, and if not, he'd step up to the turners,
The ground being soft might sort of make your mind up with regards to the race you run Romeo Coolio in. Will you run him in the Arkle?
It's probably leaning more towards the Arkle. Obviously I was planning to have a chat with the owners today, but one of them is stuck out in Dubai, so it might be a Zoom call we're having at some stage. Look, the boys are from the UK, and rightly so. If they want to run him in Cheltenham, the Arkle probably does look like the race really to go for. But I think 2.5 miles is really his trip.
Looking at his times of his last win at the DRF, Gordon, he's actually a very quick horse over 2 miles. I know I'm telling you things that you probably already know. If there is a bit of juice in the ground and they go a good pace, which they're likely to in the Arkle, historically it says the horses that get a bit further do very well in the race. So you've got Lulambo, Kopek de Board, for example, and both connections of both horses will be pretty confident. If you lined up in the Arkle with a bit of cut in the ground on that opening day and they go a good pace, how confident are you that he could beat them and win the race?
I think we have a good each way chance, Richie, if I'm being honest. I think Cutback probably, he has the wow factor of what he done last year over hurdles. Lambo, a bit like Ireland. I think a bit further could suit Lambo as well. In my own opinion. Look, our horse is in good form. I think 2.5 miles is his ideal trip. But look, if the ground was on the easier side, if he was in firing distance turning in, he will come home strong.
I hope you're right. He's double figures in some places for the race, so I think that's very generous.
Yeah, look, he's a massive each-way chance. Look, he's 3 Grade 1s won, so there's not too many horses have done it.
Gordon, I know we don't have you for too long. As I say, it's a busy time, so we'll rattle through a few of the others, and Nick, Rishi, and Tom will chip in and throughout and ask questions about various horses. Just one general question. Someone was telling me the other day, and it might be absolute gobbledygook, that ahead of the DRF, one of the gallops was shot or something. So have I made that up or something? So you trained them slightly different going into the DRF and had tremendous success there. As we know, you've had great success all year. This could be utter garbage, but have you trained them any different going into Cheltenham this time round?
No, to be honest, we the only thing I suppose we've done different this year is we haven't really been away for any racecourse gallops. No, I rechanged my gallops during the summer, so maybe I've new gallops all this year, but we didn't have a hold up at any stage during the season. But I did redo all my gallops during the summer. Maybe I say there's a bit of Google gabble or whatever way you're saying this.
Yeah, I normally get told the nonsense.
No, look, we did redo all our gallops during the summer. Maybe that's where it's coming from, Oli, but that's the only thing we've done different.
Okay, moving on to day 2, you've got Skylight Hustle in the Turners. Do you reckon he's sort of slightly underrated? I know he's prominent in the betting, but everyone's talking about no drama this end, talk the talk, etc. Yeah,
but that's great. It takes the pressure off us. Skylight Hustle, he was probably a fortunate winner of a Grade 1 at Christmas, and with top looked like he was going to win it. But I do think the step up and triple suit our lad. He's in very good form. I think over that trip you can ride a race on him. The gun won't be to his head the whole way. Again, I think he goes there with a chance. Yeah.
Okay, that's Skylight Hustle in the Turners. I guess one of the big races for you when you look at the markets and the achievements of the horses you've got in it is the Stayers Hurdle on the on the Thursday. Tiapu, Star, Honesty Policy. The market has Tiapu ahead. Do you think it'll be close between those two?
Look, to be honest, Tiapu sets the standard, and rightly so. He's been there, he's won the Stayers. He just got beat last year off a slow gallop. I think he's in great form. His last run in Leopardstown was probably close to a career best. He sets the standard, but Honesty Policy is a young horse on the way up. I think he has to improve to beat Tiapu, but he is improving. I think I've got 2 good chances in the race.
How much better, Gordon, do you think Honesty Policy could be than when we last saw him?
I think he's definitely stronger. Probably prefer the ground maybe a little bit on the better side for him, where Tiapu will handle anything and be really effective on soft ground. Honesty Policy, I'll watch the ground, maybe in the better the ground, the better chance he has. But he still has to prove it, Nick. He came home in Ascot strong, and you would like that. But I'd have liked to have got another run into him, but the ground just didn't suit for us to give him another run. So he still has to prove it.
Yeah. We'll talk about I wouldn't be shocked if you didn't give too much away when it comes to the handicaps when we ask you. But we're going to, once we've said goodbye to you, go through all of the races and pick out some handicappers. One of yours that I think is quite interesting going to the festival is Wendrock. I like his profile. Are you hopeful of a big run at the festival from him?
I'm hoping for a big run, Oli, but I could probably run 4 or 5 in the the Boodles now, or whatever it's called, Fred Winter. I don't think any of them are that well handicapped, if I'm being honest. For the last couple of years, we've probably been stronger in handicaps than conditions races, and this year I don't think I've got too many. I think I've 3, maybe 4 good chances in handicaps, yeah. But not overly strong.
And what are those 4 names then, Gordon?
Well, the weights are out now, so there's nothing to, I think Quen's Guadatar has a good chance in the Kim Muir.
Who's that, sorry?
Pren's Guadatar in the Kim Muir. He was 4th in the Grand National Trial the last day. I think he done a good race. I think Fabio de Shampoo in the cross-country race. If Stumptown runs and leaves him a lovely rate of 11.5, I think he's got a chance. I think the Potemps isn't the strongest race. I think Staffordshire not off 11 stone 7. You know, the horses at the top of the weight have a good record in the race. And I've one other, I've forgotten.
Something in the Martin pipe, obviously.
I'm probably not as strong in the Martin Pipe as I normally would be because of the conditions of the race. Trying to qualify them, you need 5 runs. But I will run 6 in it. Look, we'll just wait and see where the ground is, yeah.
And then the Gold Cup, obviously, it's a race you've won in the past. I know you don't have anything in it this year, do you?
I've got Firefox left in it. He was fourth in the Irish Gold Cup.
Is he going to run in it?
It'd probably be looking at the races, he might be better off running in the Ryanair, but I have to speak to the owner just because the Ryanair looks like it could cut up more. Like if Gaelic Warrior goes to the Gold Cup, you know, a Factophile, I'm not sure where he goes, but like the Ryanair would look a penny kick for him. You know, you're looking back at the rest of the horses, it could be Heartwood ends up near favourite or second favourite. So I think we might be better off running in the Ryanair with an each way chance than a Gold Cup, which I think could be very competitive this year.
Yeah, it looks a hell of a race, the Gold Cup, doesn't it?
Yeah, great race, yeah.
If you don't have a runner in it, obviously you'll be cheering on yours if you do. Who of the horses in there do you think is the most likely winner of the Gold Cup?
I thought up until listening to all the rumours over the last couple of days, I thought Factophile, but just listening to some of them Cheltenham previews when he goes to the Ryanair or not, I don't know. Obviously Gaelic Warrior, I'm not sure if he'll get home. He travels very strongly, but obviously Mullins Campbell won more with that. For me, I thought Gallop and Deschamps, I think that the 5 seem to be good, strong about him again at the moment, so time will tell. I think the 2 horses from the UK have massive chances in the Gold Cup this year. Rebecca Curtis and Ben Collins.
Jukebox man, yeah. Okay, so we won't keep you much longer. Just a couple of final questions if we can. You're leading the way in the Irish Trainers Championship. Obviously, Cheltenham won't impact that, but how much are your eyes on that in the hope of getting the better of Willie Mullins?
I have no chance. As I said at a Cheltenham preview the other week, Ollie, the lads in England cry about seeing him 3 or 4 times a year. I have to look at him every day of the week. So listen, it's something I dream about every day of the week, and it's a dream to be champion trainer someday, but I think we're still a couple of years off. It's just the strength Willie has at the top end is very, very, very strong. You know, if we win an Irish National, we have a chance, but out from that, I think it's going to be tough.
Do you honestly think, I mean, the lead you've got is strong. Do you honestly think you don't have a chance this year?
Well, I'm running 12 in the Irish National, so we'll just watch this space.
But are you running the winner?
I hope so. Look, to be honest, we're keeping plenty of horses home for the Irish National. If you don't dream about it and want to do it, you shouldn't be training horses. Everyone knows the strength and depth of Close Sutton. But listen, it's something. I don't think I've been as strong since probably 2017 and 18. You know, it took a lot of rebuilding from then to now. But I think we're getting back to where we want to be, and it's something we have our eyes on. But I think we're a long way off at the moment.
Gordon, can I just ping a couple at you? You mentioned the Potemps. Are you going to run Manila 6-0 in that as well?
Yeah, I am going to run him, but like Manila 6-0 at 11-2 or 3 or 11-1, whatever weight he has, as opposed to Staffordshire not at 11.5 stone. I mean, Staffordshire not is rendered to graded level. You know, I think when you look at the top horse, the Henderson horse, he's a grade 1 horse, you know, touching a grade 1 horse. And then my horse is a grade 2, 3 horse, probably 11-7 next in. You know, the rest of the field is a long way to go to get to that level. I don't think it's the strongest race myself. I think one of the top weights could win this.
Okay, and will it go ahead? Are you going to run that in the Princess Royal as it now is? And how do you rate the chances?
He ran very well in the race last year. He's very ground dependent. If the ground really dried out, he's an each way chance. But the plan is to bring him over and run him. But I'd like to see the ground drying out.
Okay. Best chance of a winner at the festival is Gordon?
Sure. Look, would it be great to win the Supreme Novice? We get off to a great start. Look, I suppose best chances probably Tia Poo, Woodhu. I think she's flying. She's in great form. Look, I've loads of chances, Ollie, and loads of chances in big races this year. So I just hope I don't have to wait until the last race of the festival again.
I'm sure you won't. And if there's one for the Paddock listeners to side with each way, which would the one name be that you would say to have a couple of quid each way on?
If the ground stays on the easier side on Wednesday, keep them company.
In the
bumper.
Excellent stuff.
Unbeaten.
Yeah, he's very tough horse. Look, I think whether he wins the bumper or not, I think he's a horse you're going to read an awful lot of in the future. I think he's a proper horse, but I'd love the ground. Bumper's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah. Hopefully the ground won't be too dry at that stage, but I like him.
And when do you get over? Sunday, Saturday?
Sunday, Ollie.
Nice. Well,
when you going yourself?
Sunday, Gordon, as you know.
Yeah, I'll see you Sunday.
Thanks so much for joining us. Really
Thanks, Gordon.
Your thoughts, Gordon, and the very best of luck at Cheltenham, mate.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks.
Lucky, just hearing from Gordon there, he's got a hell of a squad, doesn't he? And he's saving some back in Ireland as well.
Yeah, and he's keeping that whole idea of being champion trainer in Ireland up his sleeve. But as you identified, there's not a right lot of the Irish season to go. Punchestown and the Irish National aside. So if he does win the Irish National, he's putting himself in there with a fighting chance.
And he could kick off the festival with a winner with El Kairos. You touched on it with Nico. We're going to get the spectacle we want in the Sky Bet Supreme. 16 runners or so, with the raw when the tapes rise. Hell of a race.
And why shouldn't he be amongst the principals as well? I'd be much more positively than negatively disposed towards him. Way too much has been made out of those last flight fall/scares. Completely not his fault the first time. He just slipped on a bit of bad ground. And the next time, it was just a miscommunication between horse and rider. He's a perfectly good jumper. I've got no issues on that score whatsoever. But I just think there's a whole load of horses you can be positive in this race. I really hope they go here with Talk the Talk. I'm hearing today they're at 6s and 7s about this. Possibly Talk the Talk could go to the Turners because they might be a bit frightened of Mighty Part. I think Joseph O'Brien, though, will stick to his guns. I think he wants to run Talk the Talk in the Supreme. I think the reason he wants to run him in the Supreme is because I think that he thinks he's the best national hunt horse he's ever had. I think the speed he showed to run them down on bad ground in a really good race at the Dublin Racing Festival is the form here. And he, for me, is the likeliest winner of the opener.
The horse I like at a big price, we'll get Rishi and Tom's thoughts on it now, but the horse I like, who I think is the wrong price, I think he probably has to improve a little bit to win, but Idaho Sun's a grade 1 winner, beaten my Daddy Paddy, who's shorter than him in the betting, beat him emphatically, I thought, at Aintree. Ran really well in the bumper last year, not far behind El Kairos, so has got Cheltenham form. I think he'll need it to be a sort of stamina Supreme, if you see what I mean. I can't believe he's as big as he is, given what he's achieved. So he's my fancy in the race at the prices. Obviously, with a few moving parts to decide where certain horses will go. But I like Idaho Sun at the prices. Rishi, Tom, any view?
I like my Daddy Paddy, actually, Ollie. My favourite.
What's the reason for him reversing the form then? Hurdles?
Well, the race at Aintree, I think it was a complete farce. You watch his first couple of runs over hurdles, and it's hurdling that is most exciting about him. He attacks his hurdles. There's some horses you see them actually quickening up into the hurdles and flying them, and that's what he has done. So as soon as the hurdles came out, it was always going to be a challenge for him. And obviously, Dan Skelton said as much after the race. So the fact that he is the price that he is now, I think is interesting. You look on some places, he's 16-1 on the exchanges. I don't think he did a lot wrong at Aintree, and I get that Idaho Sun obviously beat him that day, but I think in the Supreme with a proper race over hurdles, I think he's by far the better horse, and I'd prefer to take him at the prices.
We can have a match bet.
I'd love to.
Okay, you're on. Whoever finishes in front, the other person has to pour all the teas when we're back in situ on the paddock.
I'm not poor. Okay, hold on.
I'll have to do it if I lose. I do it anyway. Tom?
I'll chuck in Heads Up at a massive price. I hope he runs here. He's been working in a hood, apparently, having run a shocker at Cheltenham, but he won at Punchestown last time. I think a strong pace over 2 will suit. And if this is an old school Supreme, he's had 4 starts over hurdles. He was second in the bumper last year. Experience counts for plenty if it's an old school style. They go hard, decent sized field Supreme, and he's about 40-1. Heads Up would be too big.
You like one in the Arkle, Rish, and it was the one Gordon was on about.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping for more confidence from Gordon than just an each way shot for Romeo Coolio. But the point about him is that some people have criticised the fact that he's had hard races this season. Now, I understand we live in a different world in 2026, but in the old days, we used to criticize trainers for not running horses enough. For example, the biggest case would be Best Mate. Everybody said, oh, Henrietta Knight doesn't run Best Mate enough. I think the idea that Romeo Coolio's had those hard races going into a championship race is a positive. The fact that it's going to be soft enough on the opening day so that he's going to run in the Arkle is a positive. The Arkle is going to be run at a good clip. I cannot see how he's going to be far away. In some places, Cargesi is shorter than him. Lulamba, I like the horse a lot. Similar to Romeo Coolio, I think he'll stay further. Kopek de Board, he's only run that one race over fences and missed his intended target. And yes, there are reports of how he's flying at home as well. But, you know, they're both short prices. Again, when you look at the prices, Romeo Coolio is a rock solid bet for the Arkle. I think he'll go very close to winning it.
Lucky, you made the point that Lulamba just takes the mickey a bit, and I agree with that. I think he's holding a lot back, this horse.
So if you like Romeo Coolio by Rishi's logic, then you have to like Lulamba, and I like Lulamba a bit more. I think Lulamba's a fundamentally slightly more talented horse, and I agree with Rishi that he's likely to get his scenario because Kopek de Board's going to have company. He's going to have company. He might be the fastest thing on 4 legs, Kopek de Board, but he's going to have Irish Panther, and he's going to have 1 or 2 more right round him as well, I would think. And with that in mind, I'd say Lulamba will have the race run perfectly to suit. I think this is Nicky Henderson. If Nicky Henderson can win the Arkle, not a bad Arkle either, with a horse as slow as Django Bay, then he can definitely win it with a horse as quote unquote slow as Lulamba. I mean, I think we're only just scratching the surface with this horse. We're only just getting to the bottom of him. Maybe we're not even getting to the bottom of him. Just think he's the best horse and he'll win the race.
I think there's lots of horses in this Arkle that will probably make up into a Django Bay type for next year. Need a trip, but it does look a good Arkle. Champion Hurdle. We already have found out that the information I get is invariably gobbledygook from Gordon and the Gallops nonsense I was spouting, but I heard a rumour today that they might supplement Old Park Star for the Champion Hurdle.
Whoa!
That would be out of the back of the hand, that. But with no Constitution Hill, with question marks about the New Line's form, brighter days ahead at Cheltenham, you know, it wouldn't be the strangest thing to see a novice roll the dice with. Whether they do, I don't know. But the question you asked, Gordon, about whether Brighter Days Ahead was the best horse in the race is a really good one. I'm not sure who I think is the best horse in the race. Probably Brighter Days Ahead, but I'm not sure. It's a wide open race, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I started this season by saying I did another preview for the whole season and said if there's one horse in his respective division I was going to take on, it'd be the New Lion. I don't think he's a natural 2-miler, and he was favoured for the Champion Hurdle at that point. And then obviously, you know, Segino came along, and then Constitution Hill was coming back, and now I'm looking at it going, New Lion's probably going to go and win this. And I don't want him to now, but he probably is. I think he's the right favourite. And Brighter Days Ahead, you know, I think she might be the most talented in there. At her very best, I think she's brilliant. She proved that last time. But there has to be this worry about Cheltenham with her. She didn't turn up last year. The year before, I know that Gordon, I mean, he could not for a second believe that she got beat. And so I'd be worried about her. I don't think Lossie Mouth will run. If she did, I'd back her. So, yeah, I'd love him to supplement Old Park Star. That's not very Nicky, is it, though?
I think Tutti Quanti's a player. He will be supplemented for it. He was very good in I can't remember the title of it, William Hill Hurdle, formerly another bookie sponsor. And as you say, Lucky, could be not that necessarily he'll get a soft lead because he has kind of one style of racing, but he could certainly boss the race to his tune.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by how he looked at Kempton. I mean, they did nothing, I don't think, in that gallop at Kempton. I'm not saying that you could deduce anything from it in terms of how good he is, but I thought in physical condition, for a horse who just run pretty hard from the front in bottomless ground at Newbury, he'd come out of that really well, and he might not be done improving. So I get the case for it. I think the New Lion will win, and if I think there's a horse who'll run well at a price. It could be Alexi, because I think the faster they go, the better. And if you do get Tutti Quanti and Brighter Days Ahead kind of relaying it, then he could outrun his odds. But I do think the New Lion will win. I sort of think people have been trying to look beyond the obvious all season, really, and with all the drama surrounding Sergino and Constitution Hill, it's kind of taken their eye off the ball. But no bookmaker has really wanted to lay the New Lion at any point. His price has really never deviated, even though he hasn't had the smoothest passage into the race. And that's probably a sign that confidence is very high. And as I say, he's the obvious one, but I think he'll win.
Okay, a few others, because obviously there's handicaps on day one, but I'm just going to pick out a few on day one that I've been interested in and hearing good things about. Fred Winter, Manlagar for Nicky Henderson, I think has got a very good chance, has a very interesting profile for the race and could be ahead of its mark. And then in the Ultima, I really like Handstands if he runs there. I think he's a talented horse, and Ben Pauling's been very bullish about sort of his chances wherever he goes and the esteem with which he's held in the yard. So Handstands in the Ultima and Manlagar, two of interest for me on day one. Lucky, what about you? Anything else?
I thought Confusion was kind of an obvious one in the Ultima. Upwardly mobile horse. I don't think he gave it his best last time. Slightly better ground will see to better effect. Jumps, travels. Could see him running the same sort of race as Mayatown did last year, really.
Yeah. And Rishi, anything else on day one?
In the former Fred Winter Boodles, is it the McCoy Contractors now? I'd originally liked a horse called Winston Jr. for that race, but it appears that he might be heading, now that Narciso has come out the Triumph, he might be heading for the Triumph, in which case I would actually be keen on him for that race as well. And that therefore leads me to a horse called Munsif, who was pretty useful on the flat. He's with the Charles Burns team. If anybody wants to have a look through his 3 runs so far this season, I think it's fair to say he's probably got a little bit in hand. So he'll do for me now that Winston Jr. looks like he's heading to the Triumph.
Tom?
Highland, I'm going to back in the Ultima if he does run there. He's also in the Kim Muir, but I think he's a short price for the Ultima. Like if you look at his Jukebox Man form, he was rated 147 then. He's now rated 143. Jukebox Man's nearly 170, isn't he? Even Masaccio was in that race and is rated much higher now, and Highland's lower. And I thought he shaped with a bit of promise last time, and Nico was pretty easy on him when he realised the race had gone. And the other one I'll have a go at is Grand Jest. I think I really like that team. They obviously also have Confusion in the Ultimate, but Grand Jest in the last, I think will go pretty well. He looks a future national type, and I still think there's a bit of room off his sort of mark. Grand Jest about 16-1 for Joel Parkinson and Sue Smith.
Okay, that's day one whizzed through. Day two, we've obviously heard that notable tip from Gordon Elliott about his in the bumper called Keep Him Company. But the standout race, the feature race on day two is the BetMGM Queen Mother Champion Chase, where Majborough are dominating the betting, with Majborough, after that excellent performance at the DRF, the favourite.
I just don't think you can back anything else on account of Majborough making a mistake. I mean, he's probably the best chaser in training at the moment, Majborough. He's an absolute monster, and he'll go and win.
Of course, you can back something on account of him making a mistake. It's called jumps racing. Rish?
Yeah, I see. I understand what Tom's saying, but in fairness, it's only once over fences that Majborough has produced that performance. And in fairness, it was last time, so maybe something's happened. Maybe it's the cheek pieces. I don't know. But he has not jumped as well as he should have done to equate with his talents over fences. Clearly, he's a high class horse. The one race I had an anti-post bet in for Cheltenham that I was very keen on was L'Heure de Sud in the Queen Mother Champion Chase after he got beaten at Sandown. He should not have run at Sandown. Shouldn't have run at Sandown last year, even though he won after he won at Cheltenham. He is, I think, at Cheltenham fresh, a very, very smart chaser. He will float around Cheltenham, and I can't see him being far away. Majborough, there's a question mark about him. If Majborough had done what he did last time out, 2 races in a row, he'd be a much shorter price than he is. The reason why Majborough is the price he is because he hasn't been trusted yet. L'Heure de Sud for me.
So I cannot believe this is honestly L'Heure de Sud. He was fourth in an Arkle last year. What is wrong with everyone?
Well, he shouldn't
hang
have.
on.
What, he shouldn't have.
Whoa.
What,
Tom,
Lucky, please help.
it's that's the same Arkle in which Majborough blundered 2 out, right? And the 4 of them ended up finishing in a heat. Now, Lotus Sud, when Majborough made his mistake, if you'd stopped the race there, Lotus Sud was almost travelling better than him, right? So on that evidence, there's actually not that much between them on good ground at Cheltenham. And I think the ground is the key. If the ground is soft or worse, I think Majborough is a certainty. But Majborough's chance is compromised the better the ground gets. Majborough's chance decreases commensurate with the ground drying out. And it's as simple as that. To me, it's Majborough if the ground is soft and probably Lotus Sud if the ground's decent.
although the only thing I'll add to that, Lucky, is obviously the ground at Cheltenham for Lotus Sud's winning the Schlur was soft enough,
Yeah.
and he floated around there as well.
I just think it inconveniences Majborough if the ground quickens up.
At the
Got a
end of,
match bet, Tom.
If Lotus Sud wins the Champion Chase, I will go home. There and there, right there and then. Just
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'm off. See you later. Yeah, I can't. He's just not good enough for me. Can't be good enough. Mind you, this race has got a history. A history of
You could get a wacky result. You could get Quilixios first time out this season. He ran well last year. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Good old dodging bullets a few years ago. But anyway, yeah.
the Kettle won at a big price, didn't she?
Yeah.
New Mill won a race which included Moscow Flyer and Corto
And
Star.
Corto Star. Brutal. Absolutely brutal, that was.
Right. Well, at the end of this paddock, we normally do paddock picks as sort of an additional strand. Well done, Lucky, by the way, who tipped up a horse that got smashed on the day, but was 12-1, I think, in the morning of the big race.
Montemaris.
Montemaris, yeah, congratulations. That was a
forgot about him.
selection from you. Our paddock picks this week will come in the form of all of us doing a Cheltenham Yankee, 4 selections, any price, any selection you want. And I'm pretty sure we know that Majborough will be appearing in Tom Stanley's, but we'll look forward to that at the end of the episode. Kicking it off on day 2 is the Turners. Lots of talk about which race Mighty Park will run in, and also talk the talk. Lots of talk going into it about whether Paul Nicholls has a star in his hand in No Drama this end. I, on the preview circuit, got told to back one at 33-1 in the Turners, trained by Willie Mullins, called Laureate d'Estraval for Richie. Who's an interesting profile, actually, and very much is flying under the radar. So I just wanted to give a nudge to that as a whisper I've heard on the circuit. Did anyone have a strong view in the Turners?
I've got a strong view. If Mighty Park turned up, I'd be concerned, because I did, obviously, all season long, like No Drama this end, and seeing Montemaris win on the weekend, no harm to his chances. And everything he's done has been really eye-catching. The way he travels. Last time out, he dictated a slow pace and then quickened away under, relatively minimal effort from Harry Cobden. I think he's a very, very talented horse. But I would be scared about Mighty Park. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only person who's heard that if Mighty Park runs, it doesn't matter what race he runs in, because Willie Mullins has intimated that he might be the best horse he's ever had.
Yeah, the vibes about Mighty Park are incredibly strong, and hence his sort of position in all the markets, really, because the achievements he's had to date, Rishi, just don't match up to, it's potential with Mighty Park, isn't it?
It's potential, and it's the fact that it's someone who's trained more than 100 Cheltenham Festival winners saying things like it doesn't matter what race he runs in.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in on that? He's much more a Turner's sort of profile horse than an old school Supreme horse, certainly. So I'd be more keen if he ran in a Turner.
Other races on day 2 are Brown Advisory, which is a grade 1 for staying novices. Bet MGM Cup, formerly the Coral Cup, now the Bet MGM Cup. The Cross Country, the Johnny Henderson Grand Annual, sponsored by Debenhams, and the Champion Bumper. And we had Gordon give that tip in the Champion Bumper. Grand Annual one I thought was interesting was Ballysax Hanks for Gavin Cromwell, running over 2 miles, I think is exactly what that horse wants. So keeping an eye on him. What have we got on day 2? Tom Stanley.
I think Boot Hill, if he ran in the Grand Annual, could be very, very interesting.
Your head. What have we been doing?
Right. He's 50-1. This race has a history of horses with duck eggs all year, turning up well handicapped and running very well or winning it. I don't know why it's that type of race, but it often is. The Brit.
It's because they're not doing their best for the rest of the season. That's why.
So the British. I want to find a British trained horse who the handicapper might have been lenient with, who could be very well treated. And it wasn't too far ago since this horse gave John Boyne a run for his money, and he's rocking up here off a mark of 140 odd. I'll definitely have a go at him. I don't think he's necessarily a plot job. He's just incredibly well treated, and at 50-1, I will definitely have Boot Hill on side.
Yeah, that's another race that's given us big price winners. Ben Case won it a few years ago. Keelan Woods. Rish, anything on day 2?
Wendigo. I know his price is obviously shortened for the Brown Advisory, and he has got a few different entries, but I hope he runs in this race. I thought he ran an absolute belter last year in the Albert Bartlett, where he got badly hampered coming down the hill. He shouldn't have run at Kempton, I don't think, in the Corto Star, but he still ran okay behind Kit's Bull, and then he cruised around. I think he's been tailor-made for this race, the Brown Advisory, and I'm going to stick. I mean, Final Demand, I look at him and I'm how can you back Final Demand? I can't see that. Big Westerner is the other horse that's at the top of the market, and he wasn't that far behind her, having had that run that he did in the Albert Bartlett last year. So Wendigo in the Brown Advisory.
Lucky picked up anything in the circuit?
The MGM Cup. I think there's a horse in here sort of slightly hiding in plain sight. Our old friend Iberico Lord.
Yeah.
Who they supplemented for the Champion Hurdle 2 years ago when Nicky Henderson couldn't get one to basically finish a race, and the yard was under that massive cloud. It tells you what they thought of him. Now, okay, they got him down so far in the weights that he dotted up in the Lanzarote. He went about 10 wide. I mean, James Bowen must have known what he was sitting on that day. He made sure of it. He went about 10 wide at Kempton and still won by half the track. The form's worked out really quite well. I think the handicap has taken a bit of a chance, only putting him up £8. 144, but it's like, oh, well, he's won his race. So that was his race for the season. Oh, he can't do it again, can he? Well, yeah, I think he can, especially as he's won round there and he's completely unexposed at the trip. So I'll have him to go in again wherever he runs.
We've had match bets here. Can someone give me a spread on how many JP McManus owned winners
at
the festival?
I think he could have 10.
So do I. I think it could be double digits. The line for me would be 9, I think.
He's got this festival by the what's it more than I can ever remember.
Because he's got the championship races to a certain extent covered when you look at Honesty Policy in the Stayers, for example, Factor File wherever he goes. New Line, Majborough. That's 4 in the championship races. And then the handicaps, you look at it, and he's got a host of the favourites.
Have you seen what day is the Kim Muir, by the way? I know we're going out of order here, but just wanted to point
Thursday.
Sorry.
Yes, Thursday.
Right.
Thursday.
Look at the betting for the Roscon group, Fulton Walwyn Kim Muir Challenge Cup, right?
Yeah.
Jericho de Repine, favourite. You have me in Stitches, second favourite. Wolford Whispers, third favourite. Fourth favourite is Mon Regard. They're all owned by JP McManus.
Look, and if you look at the Ultima, Jaguar, Iroko, Fred Winter, Saratoga, Manlagar. I mean, he's got like not just the favourites, he's got like the top 2 or 3 in the betting in the handicaps as well. So, Saratoga is his, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were looking dumbfounded at me. Yeah. So the line is 9. Are you a buyer or a seller of JP McManus winners?
I'd be a buyer.
I'm a buyer.
I think at 9.
Buyer. Yeah.
Wow. That could be extraordinary.
Now everyone's selling.
Well, I bet the line. What is the line? I bet the line's less than that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know whether there is one set up, but I'd love to. I bet
it'd be 6 to 7 or something like that, and I'd definitely be a buyer.
Yeah. Well, let's. That could be the paddock pick job done this week. JP McManus winners at the festival. Okay, that's day 2 done. Day 3, you have 2 feature races. Cheltenham give the Ryanair and Stayers Hurdle both their due on day 3. Should we start with the Ryanair? I mean, there are certain moving parts as to where Factor File or Gaelic Warrior runs, so it's quite hard to nail our colours to a mast until obviously we know the field. But one of the JP McManus horses at Cheltenham will be John Bon. How how much would it mean to JP, Nicky, and I guess to the Cheltenham crowd were they to greet John Bon into the winners' enclosure?
I don't want to pour cold water on it, but I did a preview with AP McCoy, and I said something about John Bon and the Ryanair, and he said he won't run because Factor File will run and he'll win it. And I said, well, where's John Bon? He said he's just go straight to Aintree. So unless AP hasn't been privy to that John Bon, but that's what it seemed to be. And I know I was chatting to Nick earlier today and saying that if Factor File doesn't run in the Gold Cup, I'd be gutted because he's always had the potential to be a Gold Cup horse. Yet here he is, likely to be, if he does run in the Ryanair, odds-on favourite to win it. And I think he should be going for the Gold Cup. So it's a completely confusing picture. If John Bon were to run in the race and were to win it, my goodness, yes, it would be the most extraordinary thing because I think everyone knows the affection he is held in. But if Factor File were running in the Ryanair, would they run him against John Bon?
Well, who would ride him if they did? So Mark Wall should ride Factor File. Would Cobden ride John Bon?
Cobden, yeah, you'd imagine.
And I think Nico would ride John Bon until May.
Really? Well, that wasn't. They had the option of booking Nico. I know he went to Haydock to ride Old Park Star, but they booked Cobden then, didn't they? I don't know.
Maybe they knew they were going to supplement Old Park Star for the champion hurdle.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, let me jump in because I found a market. William Hill, JP McManus winners at the festival.
Go on.
6-2 to 1, 5 winners 3 to 1, 4 or less 7 to 2, 7 winners 7 to 2, 8 or more winners 13 to 2.
8 or more 13 to 2.
Wow.
Correct.
Oh, that's the bet.
Anyone know any William Hill ambassadors here that could get on for us?
Do we?
Yeah, I can't.
We can.
I know.
Hang on. Yeah.
Leona Mayer, she's great. She's
AP.
Brilliant. Barry Geraghty, brilliant.
AP.
Yeah.
13 to 2 for 8 or more seems very, very big.
Still clinging on to that gig anyway.
Okay, so the Ryanair, we think if Factor File runs, he'll win. What about the Stayers Hurdle? Much more open. Honesty policy in Tiapu, we heard Gordon's thoughts of them, and you can make a very strong case for the pair of them, really. You've also got in there the likes of Cabral and Mathan. Marchand too is, I think, a big player in the race for Emma Lavelle, who obviously had Paisley Park. It is probably the most open of the championship divisions to a certain extent, although you could argue that the Gold Cup is open this year. But I think I'm probably leaning towards Marchand too, the more I look at the race. Progressive horse, upwardly mobile and got time on his side. Anyone got a strong view in the Stayers?
My strong view would be to be against Tiupu. I know Gordon, when you asked him about honesty policy, I'd much rather back him honesty policy than Tiupu because of the what might be. I know he's got over £10 to find, but I hope they go a bit quicker than they did last year. But I quite liked what he did last time off the back of a bit of an absence. He was a top level winner at the back end of last year, and I'd much rather side with the up and comer than a horse like Tiupu, who didn't convince me last year and doesn't convince me going into this race. So I will back honesty policy.
What's wrong with Bob Ollinger?
100% with you, Lucky.
Agree.
I mean, his festival record's ridiculous, isn't it? And didn't he just breeze past Tiupu like he was standing still last year?
Yep. I thought he was giving an absolutely perfect ride 12 months ago. I'm not convinced in a real proper slog he'll stay.
Just loves it there, doesn't he?
He does love it there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been trained to the minute for this race, hasn't he?
Have you seen how many of Henry's horses that are entered in the festival this year, who've run really well or won at the festival before, have had almost no racing this season? Either no runs, one run. He's got fresh horses to run.
Well, he's run the Bob Ollinger in the same race that he ran in last season ahead of winning the Stayers Hurdle. He did have a run before he ran in that race at Leopardstown in December when he ran in 2024. But since he got beaten in that race at Aintree, where he should have won, he's had only 4 runs. And that was in April 2024. I know he's an old warrior now, but he hasn't been that hard raced in the last couple of seasons. So I'm with Bob Ollinger. He's the defending champion, and he, as you rightly point out, Lucky, he did dismiss Tiapu comfortably enough.
Yeah, I think there will be plenty of people that will be taking a closer look at Henry de Bromhead's runners through the week, just because, I mean, he's got a great festival record as a trainer, doesn't he? And everyone says his horses sort of come to life at this time of year, but he's obviously just training them with one eye on the big races. So Bob Ollinger's a player in an open race. Day 3, any other business? Handicaps? What catches people's eye, Tom?
Supremely West is an irritating price now, but they have done a magnificent job with this horse this year to keep him rated where he is in perfect ways. I thought when he ran at Cheltenham, when he went around the inside, off the back of a really eye-catching run there, that didn't suit. And here he is. I mean, if you look at that form, it's the Marchand 2 form, isn't it? I mean, this horse, I think he's one of the best handicap horses at the festival this year, without a doubt. And that's probably why he's 5-1 favourite. Anything that beats him will win it, I think. Supremely West.
Yeah. Everyone's
I've got to have him on side. But he's obviously incredibly well found. He's
in the potential. Just to confirm, the horse that I couldn't really hear Gordon, that he said in the Kim Muir, that is Prends Garde à Toi. Or the English pronunciation is Prens Garde à Toi. So anyway, it's a I'm having an absolute mind blank. It's a Gigginstown horse. So he's being nibbled at in the Kim Muir. Supremely West would be my shout on that as well. I agree. I think the potential is very much his to not lose, but he's going to get very close in it.
I think he might be up against a horse who we haven't got anywhere near the bottom of, though. That's the thing.
Who's that?
C'est différent.
Right.
Sam Thomas's. I just feel that he won so easily against a pretty good field last time at Newbury. If I was the handicapper, he'd be the one I was having sleepless nights about. And Supremely West being so well tipped up and talked up, and I don't know. We might be missing the obvious.
Okay, let's turn our attentions to the 4th and final day and the big one, the Gold Cup. Just there will be lots of people, we hope, watching this that are sort of dipping their toe, as I said last week, into racing, and they'll be hearing in the lead up, basically every day leading into the Gold Cup, about the prospect of Harry Redknapp owning the winner. And he's got a hell of a chance with the jukebox man who won the King George. Rish, are you able to sort of sum up the significance, if he was to win the Gold Cup, what it would do for racing?
Well, the sport of horse racing has constantly battled to extend beyond its own boundaries. And quite often we have tried to do that by association. And Harry Redknapp is obviously heavily associated with the sport of horse racing. And the more success he has, the better it is for the profile for the sport. So if the jukebox man were to win the blue ribbon event of the National Hunt season, then it will take racing out of the back pages, put us on the front pages. It'll be a significant result for the sport, not just for Harry Redknapp and Ben Pauling and Ben Jones. It'll be a huge result for the sport. Whether or not that happens, I'm not entirely certain, but the promotion of Harry Redknapp having a horse in the race with a favourite's chance, or as close to favourite's chances as you can get, then I think it's great. And I think we should embrace it, and I think we should enjoy the ride. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of attention on Harry Redknapp and his associates come Gold Cup Day.
Yeah, and he is a big player in the race, but the King George, if you look at that race alone, you could throw a blanket over them and make a case for pretty much all of them that were in the finish that day. Do we think the jukebox man is a guaranteed stayer?
Yes. Yeah.
Though he sort of paddled in the Albert Bartlett when he ran there.
Yeah, I mean, he got nailed in the Albert Bartlett, didn't he? Having gone forward on heavy ground. It was tough going that year, and he was beaten by a Stella Story, who is obviously a very strong stayer, but also Stella Story had loads of runs coming into that over hurdles, and that is often what you want in the race. But that was his 5th or 6th hurdles run, and I think he was just sort of outgrounded by a more experienced horse. But Yeah, I think he's a. I don't think there's any reason to suspect he's not a solid stayer. This horse, the Jukebox Man. He's run very well at the track before on very testing ground. I know plenty will take the view at Kempton that they didn't go that quick, and others may have been more suited by a stronger run race. But we don't know that the Jukebox Man wouldn't have either. And I'll have him on side. The Jukebox Man. I think he's. I think he should be a clear favourite, particularly if we think Factor Far is going to go to the Rhino.
Are we going to get lucky? You made the point with Nico, didn't you, when he was on the paddock last week about, well, Nico made the point about the last few Gold Cups haven't been that sort of relentless and falling off one by one. Maybe with Haiti Couleurs in there, we will, although I don't think Sean will want to go handbrake off from the start. Is it going to be a real slog, the Gold Cup this year, do you think?
Well, I think that's an interesting question as regards the Jukebox Man, because I think he stays, and we saw he stayed in the King George, but it's a question of the extent to which Ben Jones wants to use him and wants to have him out there in his naturally quite exuberant racing style, and the extent to which he's going to be able to do that and stretch his field. You know, you need a horse of such significant caliber, I think, to do that in a Gold Cup. You know, not every horse can execute Denman-esque tactics and pull it off in that race. In fact, very few can. You need to economize. You generally need to save ground. You need to get horses in a rhythm. Yeah, ground savings, I think, absolutely critical in this race because they open up that fresh trip on the inside, and you're always on the turn as well. I think the Gold Cup is a hard race to win for a horse as expressive as the Jukebox Man, unless they can just get him to kind of tuck in and economize. You're not really going to want to sort of set him alight from a long way out, are you?
There are quite a lot of expressive horses in the race. I mean, particularly,
Haiti Couleurs, yeah, being one of them. But is it, you know, unless the ground, obviously the ground's going to be a big issue, isn't it? As well, you know, if it turns into a real slog, then that definitely brings Galopin Des Champs into the mix again.
Who has the stronger hand, Britain or Ireland?
Ireland.
The market. No?
I'm going against that. I'd play Britain. Obviously, if Factor Far lined up for the Gold Cup, then Ireland. But without Factor Far, Britain.
And your preference of the British is?
It would be Django Bay. If you looked at the finish of the King George, which is the horse that finished best of all, Django Bay. You go back to the Arkle, he finished strongly in that race. He went to Aintree, he finished strongly in that, maybe should have won. He went to Ascot, he finished strongly. Every time he has run, he's finished his race off looking like he's going to stay further. He gets his chance in the Gold Cup. And I think he would have beaten his three rivals in the King George had they gone another 10 yards, 20 yards. So he is a very solid selection without Factor File.
Okay, Tom, what side of the camp are you on?
I'd be with Britain. You know, there's a lot of second seasoners in there, and from Britain, Jukebox Man, Django Bay. I mean, I'm not so keen on Haiti Couleurs as a horse for this, but Jukebox Man and Django Bay are the top two on my list. I think even if I sort of quite like Factor Far running, because I would be against him really seeing it out truly up the hill. I also thought Grey Dawning is just, he's sort of niggling away at me. Like he's, you know, he was kicked before the start last time, and Darren Skelton said afterwards, you know, you can't win a Gold Cup in the Cotswold Chase in January, but you can lose it. And I sort of quite like what they did with him late on. And yeah, he's just nipping away at me at about 14-1, but I'll get closer to the race before I go after him.
There's one horse that will be niggling away at a lot of punters, and that is last year's winner. I Know the Way You're Thinking. He's being backed in the lead up. He hasn't shown anything since winning the Gold Cup, but the money would suggest we might see a different I Know the Way You're Thinking on the Friday at Cheltenham. Lucky, how do we approach I Know the Way You're Thinking in the race?
Well, don't we? Isn't the problem now with I Know the Way You're Thinking that if he was niggling away at you, then you should have had a fiver on him last week.
Yeah.
You know, and 16, 18, 14, 12, 10, whatever, you probably wait to the day, don't you? Because if he's still niggling away, you then just make sure you have him backed. But I'd happily leave him, you know, unniggling at 13-2. I think there's too many horses in the race that you can be quite positive about.
Yeah, and if he wins at 13-2, you go, fair enough,
Fine.
he's bounced back. But
Yeah.
but if he gets beat out the back of the telly at 13-2 and you had a bet on it, you go, why the hell have I backed a horse that's shown nothing this year?
The other thing is, if you actually try and get into the weeds of his form rather than try and think about the psychology of the year as a whole, he's a horse who hasn't always been a brilliant jumper. And in the Gold Cup last year, his jumping was able to warm up, and he was able to give himself a chance because the field was small and they raced quite spaced out, and it was quite sort of spread out from an early stage. So it kind of suited him. I just feel that with a biggish field, that's going to be harder for him anyway, even if he's on his absolute A game. Obviously, when he won what did he win the Kimir? Was it 2 years ago? Yeah. I mean, like, he had 15 stone in hand, so it didn't really matter. He could have walked through every fence. It wouldn't have mattered a jot. But I think now I still think he's a horse that everything's got to go absolutely spot on for. So would I be wanting to back him much shorter than he is at the moment? Well, at the price he is at the moment anyway, even if he'd had a brilliant season, I'm not sure I would.
Okay. That's the Gold Cup. So we've got Django by for Rish. Lucky, who's your fancy in the race?
I've got a lot. I mean, a lot of horses I can see running really well.
Is there a Springer at a massive price?
Yeah, I think there's a couple at big price. I think there are a couple who run well at big prices. I think Spillane Tower will run well. It was a silly sort of race that he won last time, but all it showed you was he's back and he's in good heart, and he looked like he was loving it. He looked to love it round Cheltenham. He's got brilliant 2 runs under Jack Kennedy. He's looked a completely different horse. I assume Jack's going to be able to ride him again because Gordon's not going to have a runner in the race. He looks like he's going to run Firefox elsewhere. So that, for me, is a huge plus, Jack Kennedy riding him. He's a really good jumper, and his best 2 runs makes him a similar sort of horse to Factor File, and I know the way you're thinking. He's right in that sort of form mix. So still improving young horse. I think he's too big a price at 16 or whatever he is. But the one that could run well at a crazy price is Fast or Slow if the ground really dries out. He was second favourite for the race 2 years ago, unseated. Didn't make it last year, and has had 2 runs this year. The first one was perfectly good. Second one was okay, but on bad ground, and they've freshened him up. So I think he could run well.
Do you think Maximus is going to run in the race?
Yeah, I thought he was a chance if he runs. If it turns into that old school Gold Cup.
Yeah. I thought he could get placed.
He's just not very generous, is he, in a sort of regular race?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he put himself bang in there at Savills, didn't he?
Mm.
Just news coming through as we're recording this. Supreme, the more likely option for Talk the Talk, says Joseph O'Brien, despite the Turner's gamble. So that's what Joseph.
Well done, Lucky.
Yeah, we got that on the pod, didn't we, Rich?
Yes, you nailed it.
And has Lord Allen gone yet?
No.
It's your second podcast today, Rishi.
Lucky and I are both in our second podcast today, Tom. This is what I've had to put up with since Saturday night, everyone.
This is very good, Rishi. Rishi, it just shows Rishi Persad, stranded in Dubai, not struggling for work. Not a problem.
But, we all know you win some, you win some, you lose some in this game, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to get into that, Lucky, or should we move on to Martin Pike?
I don't know. I'm selling all the time, Ollie. That's all I'll say.
Martin Pike, there is one in here owned by JP that I like. Actually, JP normally has a few in here. He's only got one in the entries, and that horse is Quelle Histoire for Willie Mullins. 2 runs this season, 5th on both occasions. I think he's got a very interesting profile for the race. Another one for JP. I'm all on the JP bandwagon. I think JP is going to have double-figure winners at the festival. So invariably, if you want to know my opinion on a race, you can pretty much look at whatever JP owns. He's obviously got it's on the line in the Hunter Chase. I thought Statler was quite interesting in the Hunter Chase, actually, for Faye Bramley and Ronnie Bartlett, AP boy attached to the yard. And one last time out, at his best, he was rated higher than the favourite, Wonderwall, etc. So, those were my 2 on the final day at these reasonable prices. What have you got for me on day 4, lads?
It was good of Princess Anne to step up and sponsor the Hunter Chase as well, wasn't it?
Very good.
Mm.
Mm.
Would it have cost
We
that
at the Jockey Club are pleased to be associated.
Here we go.
No
you on-
sponsor. No sponsor of the Hunter Chase.
Are you on the board at Cheltenham as well, Rish?
No.
Just Kempton.
And Epsom.
Well, you might have a bit of time on your hands to find another role if Kempton goes, wouldn't you?
Steady on, chaps.
We got any news on that?
No news on that yet. It's a bit like waiting for a flight home. Who knows?
Mm.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear in the next few weeks or months. Right, okay. Anything else on day 4, Tom?
Yeah. Sorry, Lucky. I'll go with Shadow Paddy if he runs. Sorry, Nick.
In what race?
Getting in there. In the Albert Bartlett. This race is has a history of going to horses with loads of experience because it doesn't go to the best horse necessarily. Shadow Paddy has been kept fresh for the spring, and we don't know what he's going to be like over the distance, but he is progressing really nicely off the back of that win last time. No idea how good he is, and he's about 66 to 1. So I'll back Shadow Paddy in the Albert Bartlett, and I'll back something of Mullins or Skelton's in the county. Steve Mellish made a very cogent case, and as a judge, I obviously really respect for Sinatra, about 14 to 1 of Dan Skelton, his only runner in it.
He dashed to get him qualified for the race. So
Yeah, exactly.
can I just throw in Whiston Jr.? Sorry, very quickly. I mentioned him earlier on. I think he's going to run in the Triumph. And without Narciso House in the race, I think he has got a very good chance.
Not to go all Kevin Keegan, but I would love it if Manella's study for Adam Nicol was to win the underdog story at Cheltenham in many ways. Trains on Bamborough Beach, which I found out was voted 3rd best beach in the world.
In the world? Wow.
In the world, yeah. And actually, there was footage. Actually, we played it out on the weekend, and it looks stunning there. And the horse trains on the beach, and he's only got something like 16 horses in training. Kind of picked it up from humble beginnings, went over to Ireland to get him, but he's got a right chance, I think, in an open Triumph. Lucky, sorry, everyone.
Can you swim in that beach?
Can you swim in it, or does the horse swim?
Yeah.
You tend to swim in the sea, Rich, not in the beach. The sea is the wet bit.
God, you can
to
tell
be
they've
voted
spent
best
too long in a
beach.
hotel room together, can't you?
If you voted best beach, shouldn't we be able to swim in the sea adjacent to the beach?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, 100%.
Can you? How cold is it?
It's obviously cold. It's in Newcastle, but it's
exactly. How could it be in the top 3 beaches in the world? That's ridiculous.
The thing, Rich. They recommend, Wim Hof would recommend going swimming in cold water better for your circulation and things. Maybe that's where you're going wrong.
I'm not sure the people of the Caribbean would entirely agree with that.
Lucky, sorry, everyone was sort of jumping in over you and stealing the microphone and stealing.
Because it looks as if he's still looking at his phone. So
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's because I am.
What have you got on day 4?
Never give up the mic. That's what I was always told, Ollie. Never hand the mic over.
But you've got the microphone now.
Okay. Day 4, the Hunter Chase, the Princess Royal Challenge Cup Open Hunter Chase. I'd be very interested in Music Drive. It was 4th last year under a pretty inexperienced rider under rules. I don't know. I think we'll be better for that experience at 12 to 1. The Albert Bartlett, I thought, was an interesting race to have a go at. And I think Espresso Milan will run very well. Still 12 to 1. And I still wonder whether they might have a look at the Ryanair for Panic Attack, but I do think she might give Dino Blue a race in the Mrs. Paddy Power Libertine Mares Chase, a race at 2:40 on Gold Cup Day that everyone is forgetting is taking place at the time it's taking place.
I think Panic Attack's got a right chance. I think she's been a revelation this year.
Mm.
You know what time it is now, lads, don't you?
Yeah.
I was going to say let's do a Yankee, but given we've got Lucky on, let's make it a Lucky 15.
A Lucky 15.
I love a Lucky 15.
So, Lucky, lead us off with your Lucky 15.
So here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Lulamba.
Oh, cool.
No prizes for originality there. Okay, should we have one on each day?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, so Lulamba I'm having. I will have Confusion in the Ultima. Then I will have
two on the
Bob-
Tuesday.
Bob Ollinger in the Stayers Hurdle. And just to knock it right out of the park, we'll have Spillan's Tower in the Gold Cup. There you go. That's going to pay big.
Yeah, that will there might be a sort of restricted payout if that came in. That would be over the million.
I better do it now, hadn't I? Just to make sure I've done it.
We're all going to have to do our lucky 15s now, aren't we? Yeah.
We'll do a team one, the Paddock one. We'll get a small each way lucky 15 on all of our ones. Rishi, what's yours?
I decided I'm going to go for the 4 championship races to keep it simple. So the New Lion wins the Champion Hurdle. L'Heure de Sud wins the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Tom, don't do that. Agree with Lucky. Bob Ollinger wins the Stayers Hurdle, and because that's still the championship race, even though the Ryanair's run on the Thursday. And Django Bay in the Gold Cup.
I've just realised they are actually in the same room.
No,
I've just realised you're in the same room. Like Ernie and Bert.
No, we are not. I made sure of that.
So we've had the lucky 15, the Persad Perm. I can't think of anything clever with
only
Stanley Superhinds, but would need more selections. But Stanley's selections are?
It's an each way handicap lucky 15. Jinko Blue in the Cup, BetMGM Cup.
Yeah.
Supremely West in the Pertemps, Highland in the Ultima, and Boot Hill in the Grand Annual at a whopping price.
Now that would pay $1 million to 1 probably.
It won't cop, but yeah.
Right. Supremely West for me in the Pertemps, Handstands in the Ultima, Kiel d'Histoire in the Martin Pipe, and Laureate d'Estraval each way Yankee or Lucky 15. Laureate d'Estraval's in the Turners. So my 4 are all relatively big prices. I think we've all gone for some slightly left field selections in our perms, which is good. So that's mine. So Supremely West, Pertemps, Handstands Ultima, Kiel d'Histoire, Martin Pipe, Laurel d'Estraval in the Turners. And I do think we should all chip in and do everyone's lucky 15, because if one did land and we didn't, I don't think any of us would. I mean, despite everyone stealing each other's jobs over the last few weeks, that might just take us over the edge. So
I'm not sure I've stolen anything.
Yeah, no, I haven't stolen anything. Tom, have you stolen anything?
He has. Have you heard about this?
I haven't stolen anything.
Rishi, have you stolen a job off anyone?
I haven't stolen. In fact, I've had it stolen.
Well, lads, it's a pleasure to see you as always.
Yeah. Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Given a description to the authorities.
I really appreciate you coming on, and I really appreciate the work of the team behind the scenes with us on the paddock for pulling this together, because obviously circumstances very much out of our control. But to be able to get together and chat Cheltenham's been great. So Rishi, Tom, as I said earlier, get home safe, stay safe. We're thinking of you, and keep us posted. Nick, thank you as ever.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure, Ollie. And I mean, this technology is fantastic. It's almost as though you could work from home.
And thank you to everyone for tuning into our Cheltenham Festival special on the Paddock. Follow us at the Paddock UK. If you've got any questions for future episodes, put them in the comments. Like, subscribe, do the usual, and have a great Cheltenham, everyone. I hope you're tuning in and back plenty of winners.